tell you this week's story, which is a story about questions that Jesus asked. In the last couple weeks, you've heard some questions that Jesus asked, and this week he asked a question, and the question is, do you want to get well? And today our story is about a guy who waits a really long time to get better. And so, anyway, so what happens was Jesus went to Jerusalem to a festival, and on his way to the festival, to the temple, he walked by this place called the Pools of Bethesda. And the Pools of Bethesda was this big pool, but it wasn't the same as like your backyard. It wasn't a happy pool. It wasn't a happy place. Like when you're in your pool, you're playing, you're wrestling, you're diving, you're doing cannonballs, you swim underwater, you do all kinds of fun things. That wasn't the kind of pool this was. It was not a happy pool. It was a sad pool. It was a place where people would come who were sick. And so there was this legend that said that the waters in the pool every once in a while would stir, they'd ripple. And the people believed that when that happened, an angel was stirring the water, and the first person to get into the pool of water would be healed. And so all these sick people would gather there, and they're people who were in a lot of pain, and they're suffering. Some were blind, some were lame, meaning they couldn't walk. Some were paralyzed, they couldn't move. Some were just very, very sick and hurting. And so they all hung out, and there were lots of them, and they hung out at this pool hoping that the water would stir, and then whoever could get in first would be healed. But that wasn't true. That was a legend. It was just a regular pool, and nobody really got healed. But all these people gathered there, and one day Jesus walked by it, and he saw this one guy. And the guy had been sick. He was an invalid, which means he couldn't really move very much. He was lame. His legs didn't work. And so for him to get to that pool, really hard thing to happen. So anyway, Jesus sees him at the pool, and he asks the guy, he comes up to him and he says, do you want to be healed? And you'd think the guy who'd been sick for 38 years, you'd think he'd say, yeah, I can't wait to be healed. But that's not what he said. He said, I can't get into that pool because every time it stirs, somebody else gets there first and I never get there. So it was like he didn't believe he could be healed. He didn't believe, he had all these reasons in his head why it couldn't come true for him. And so the man waited for a really long time. Think about it. We've been waiting a long time now for things to go back to normal, where you can go over to someone's house and play, and you can go to school, and you can play sports and go to the movies and all those kinds of things. And that's kind of something we're suffering through right now, and we're going to have to do it for some more months, it seems like. But just think about that. What if you had to wait for 38 years? That's not going to happen for us, fortunately. Will happen a lot quicker. But for him, the thing he wanted most, he'd waited 38 years to be healed. So Jesus says, well, do you want to be healed? And the guy doesn't say yes right away. He's like kind of stuck on his what's going through his head. But then think about it. He had all these reasons that why he didn't want to get. He didn't think he could get well. He was like, my legs are broken, or my legs don't work. I'm lame. I've been like this forever. I can't get to the pool. He didn't know who Jesus was. He didn't know that Jesus originally had the power to heal. He just knew, he only thought the pool was the thing that could heal him. So he thought that was his only chance. So in the meantime, Jesus says, well, here's what Jesus says back to him. Do you want to get healed? And the guy says, well, I can't get to the pool. And so Jesus doesn't talk to him about what he can't do. He tells him, get up, pick up your mat, and walk. And so, wow, this guy that sounds really simple and really easy, but he did it. He got up, he picked up his mat, and he started walking. Now, 38 years not to walk would be a long time. That must have been like the most exciting time, the most scary time, the most like, I can't believe this is happening to me time. And he didn't. He got up and he walked away. And so when you think about it, he had to decide in his head really fast, am I going to believe Jesus? Am I going to do what he says? Because what he said was simple, get up and walk, but it wasn't easy. But because Jesus can heal, it was easy. He got up and he walked away. So I'm going, well, what's that really have to do with me? Well, sometimes there's things in our lives where maybe, it's not a physical limitation, but maybe we have some limitations that we need some healing on, that we need maybe some help with. And I'm thinking, because as a teacher, one of the things that I could see that sometimes kids, when I'd ask them if they'd want help, I mean, as a teacher, I'd go around and I'd say, do you need some help? And a lot of times kids would say no. And they'd say no, even when they did need help. And that's kind of human nature. All of us are kind of like, I can do it on my own, or I'll figure it out, or I'm too embarrassed to say anything. But that's not what Jesus was asking this guy. He was saying, do you want help? And as a teacher, I've said to a lot of kids, do you want help? And they don't always take my help. So if you want to be healed, sometimes you have to be willing to be healed. You have to be willing to take the help. So the man who had been lame for 38 years, he fortunately did what Jesus said. He got up and he walked away and changed his life forever. And Jesus could do that for us. And sometimes there's just little things that we could ask him to help us with. But sometimes it takes us asking him. And I'm thinking, again, from school, one of the things that kids I could help them with, and they never wanted to take my help on this, was spelling. And I'd say, if you would study every day, just one time a day, you would be much more prepared and do well. And kids they'd have excuses like, oh, I hate spelling. I'm just not a good speller. And there are two kinds of spellers. There's natural spellers and not natural spellers. And I am not a natural speller. When I was a kid, I hated spelling. I was very bad at it, and I believed I'd never be good at it. And but what I really didn't do is I really didn't study very hard. And it was harder for me than other things. But I also found out later on when I became a teacher, when I focused on it, and when I'd asked God to help me with it, and help me at least want to try and help me he was very, very much, my spelling changed. And I know that's just a little sample, but I know for kids, we have to be willing to take help. And Jesus wants to help us. He's always there. He always wants to help us. And so I just want to encourage you. When you think you need help, don't be shy. Just say, Jesus, please help me. And he's there to help you, because that's what he wants. He loves us. He wants to give us the very best. And so please, please, don't be shy. Say, Jesus, help me. So anyway, I hope you have a great week, and I hope that you get outside, and the weather's really nice right now, that you get to run and have fun and do some fun summer stuff. So I'll hopefully see you soon. Talk to you later. Bye.